Okay, I have 3 o'clock and I will call the meeting to order. Mary, would you read the governor's remote participation policy, please?
This December 5th meeting of the Town Area Plan Work Group, a subcommittee of the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission, is convening by video conference pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. All supporting materials that have been provided members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. This meeting is being recorded. Please be aware other people may be able to see you, and take care not to share a device's screen. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. Please silence all phones and devices. We are not expecting public comment, but this meeting can feature public comment if there is anyone to provide such. And Henry, do you want to go ahead with the roll call?
Yes, I will. Mary.
Present.
Lee.
Here.
Mary Ann.
Here.
Allison.
Here.
Mickey.
Here.
And no Marcia or Reagan. Okay. Oh, and I'm here. So we do have a quorum. Okay, approval of the agenda. Any discussion, comments? Take that as no.
I move approval, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mary, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we got an agenda. Approval of the draft minutes from October 20th. Still this year, so that's good. Any discussion? Okay, motion to approve.
I move again, Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, second.
I wrote the darn thing, so I'll second them.
Okay, thank you, Lee. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Discussion of the area plans. Mary Ann, I think you're up.
Okay. I don't know if people have copies of what was sent to you, because now it was quite some time ago. But I think I'll just start by mentioning that I did an inventory of all of the commercial enterprises that are within our very weird area. And thank you to Lee for finding some that were on the edge, because I didn't know where the edge was, actually, including Bubble Bark Pet Groomer. That was a new one to me. That's at 1 Cherry Street. Anyway, I prepared this list of commercial enterprises, and the hope was that people would take a look at it and see anything that I missed or anything you disagree with. So that's it. I would attach this to whatever our final area plan is that we submit. So I don't know if anybody has any comments about that or differences of opinion.
Was this emailed to us a while ago?
Yeah, it was. We missed this meeting in between, so it was a while ago. So if you haven't had a chance to look it over and you see anything that's missing or that you disagree with, just you can send it to Henry. I guess there's a process for this, correct? Because we're a town entity. So
If people keep talking, I'll see if I can find it and share screen.
okay. And this went out from Henry along with the notes from which I'm going to be talking today. So everything is in black and white. You would have it in front of you, but even if you get it in the middle, that's fine, because it's all for conversation anyway. So land use is my area for this area plan. And I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her name. The person who has teamed up with me did a fabulous job of summarizing this. Liz Almodovar, yes. She did an incredible job before she became ill and left our group. But so I want to give her a lot of credit, because she did most of this. But I made one presentation before, so everything I say today is not going to be new, but it is for conversation. And I guess I'm going to start with, since we're land use, I'm going to start with the topic of zoning. Because that's probably the most important part of land use when it comes to our area.
Marianne, are you seeing on the screen the document that you're?
Yes, yes, perfect.
Okay, found it.
So I'm just going to be summarizing what's on this document. I hope everybody has it so that you can comment on it. So the Plus Department is planning to eliminate the R1 zoning in our area, and they are reassessing every property that is affected by that elimination. So the R1 will disappear, and each of these properties will become either R5 or R5L. And the R5L would limit each lot to only one building, or they would be in the ROH, the Residential Historic District.
Excuse me, Marianne.
Yeah.
When you say limit to one building, does that really mean one dwelling rather than a building? I'm not sure what R5L actually means.
I think I looked this up, and I think I took the exact language.
Okay.
I should do that again, Mickey, right? I should know if it's a dwelling or a building.
Yeah, Mickey, it sounds like the concern is garages and sheds.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I thought I took the exact language, but I will look that up again. Thank you for pointing that out.
So the L suffix was introduced by people in the I think it's the Pine Grove area. It was a coherent development on Phyllis Birchall's land. So it isn't that old. And I think they were concerned about a certain element of conformity, hence the L designation. Marianne, it sounds like Plus is going to apply that to other areas.
Oh, I mean, I have no idea, so. Too technical for me, Lee. But that's definitely a possibility. Last time we talked about this, it was Mickey who pointed out this trend that people have of adding to the sides of their houses when there's no room in any other direction. And this is something that we could comment on when we do our final plan. If we want to recommend limits to side yard additions and what the setbacks might be. So that's one area where we might have an opinion or not, something we can choose. This is a long time in process. Plus is not on any fast track to get this done. And they've done about 100 properties a year, so it may be several years before they complete this. So we have plenty of time to make up our minds on what we want to propose. So anybody want to say anything more about zoning?
Yeah, I'm looking for. There we go. Bingo. I've raised my hand. At some point, I'd like to return to the notion of mixed residential and commercial use that existed historically for the very simple reason that most people walked in the 19th century because keeping a horse was expensive because you had to bring feed from the mainland, from the Cape. And so there was a great deal more walking then than now, but it did mean that there were shops everywhere. We know that Flock used to be the bake shop, but just down the road from it was a little general store. When I first came on the island, Ryder's Package Store was also on Orange Street. And I'm sure we can all think of others. And in the spirit of the great Jane Jacobs, those kinds of shops keep a street vital. They keep it from becoming ghost town after dark.
Yeah, and Lee, I would say for everybody, you could skip down to the next to the last section called commercial/mixed use. It refers to the fact that, you know, we did the survey, Mary prepared this survey that was very extensive, and there's a lot of feedback. So I went through all of the comments that had to do with commercial enterprises, and there were plenty of suggestions from people on what they'd like to see in our area. So what you said, Lee, is very apropos of what other people are suggesting as well,
Okay.
to make things more convenient and to increase the vibrancy of the area. Both of those things are accomplished.
Super.
So
So I think we should discuss this before we reach any conclusion. But at some point, I'll suggest that a motion might be in order. Instead of should we recommend, we drop the should and we recommend.
and our recommendations could be based on a very long list of suggestions from the people who completed our survey.
May I jump in? This actually overlaps with Mary's and my section on economics
Mhm.
within the same area. And so we already have a lot of that language. It might be good to sort of compare what you've done, Marianne, with what we've done. And I'm happy to send that to Henry to have it circulated again, because that we do talk about. And we also read the comments from people about some ideas. So there may be some, I might be misunderstanding what you're saying, but I think we're sort of.
I do think that we're talking about exactly the same thing.
Yeah. So I'll share that again with
in our final plan recommendations, we may just refer from one section to another for
Exactly.
detail on mixed use. But
right.
I think that it would be great to have a 7-Eleven type store somewhere in our area.
So on that point, I thought about this a little bit, and I'm, you know, as Lee mentioned, there were a number of stores throughout town that we, you know, that were there for decades, and everybody was used to the location and the use, and they, you know, a lot of them have gone away, Rabimbas and Riders and all those stores. But if we're going to suggest that that we are encouraging to have, like you mentioned, like a 7-Eleven type store within our zone, I think it's going to have a difficult time with neighbors. Like, say, would you want one to be right next to your house? And I would probably not want one right next to my house because of the traffic that it would generate. So there's that notion that the pre-existing ones were fine. We were all used to them. But to introduce a new one in a place where there never was one before, right in the middle of India Street, which of course wouldn't happen, but, you know, in a dense neighborhood, what are the neighbors going to think of that? So I think I like the idea. I think we all like the notion of having these services close by, but it's going to be tough to figure out where they're going to end up at this stage in our, you know, such a set development downtown in our area. So I mean, I'm just throwing that out as that there might be some headwinds on that particular type of a suggestion.
Very good point. I don't want them next door to me, but I'd like one I could walk to.
Exactly.
I don't know why I keep stuck in my mind is the consignment store. It has a sign on it on North Liberty Street that says consignment store. And it used to be the lighting shop that was on North Liberty. And I'm assuming then when the lighting shop left and closed, it was a consignment store for a while. I'm assuming they have kept the sign up there because they want to keep the option open to have a business there at some point, but I don't know enough of the government rules to know if that's if that's a reason that you would keep a sign up, because you want to keep your options open in the future. But
Well,
Mickey,
it's not the sign, Marianne. So if there, and I don't know off the top of my head what the particular circumstances for that property are, but if there is a commercial use in an area that is then zoned to not allow commercial use, that commercial use is allowed to continue as long as it doesn't stop. So
Oh,
it's not the sign per se, but it's the commercial use of the property. And so the sign may be up because they are running some small amount of consignment, activity there. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But I just wanted to point out there's a difference between a pre-existing non-conforming use that is allowed to continue its activities as long as it doesn't stop and then lose that right, versus a use that is allowed by right in a zoning district. So there are two potential explanations for why that shop is there.
okay. If they are in fact running any kind of a consignment business, it's a secret because it's not open to the public or advertised in any way. And
Well, it
so
doesn't have to be a retail business. It could be an online business or a private, by arrangement only kind of a business.
that's possible. Okay.
So here I am again. Mickey's concerns are realistic. I think we should put something, if we agree that some kind of mixed use is valid, that it would be by special permit only, which means that each application would address some of the issues of neighbor concern, noise, time of day, close, what time does it close, etc.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Moving on to the historic designation, there is a misalignment currently between the old historic district and the residential old historic district, and they are trying to align these things so that there is consistency between the two. And Marcia particularly pointed out that her own house is currently not in the old historic district, even though it's definitely an historic structure. So,
that's actually, Marcia's house is in the old historic district. It's not in the residential old historic district.
okay.
So there's two different classifications. One's zoning and one is the HDC's, map, what they consider old.
Okay. Building height is something that we might want to have some comments about. We might want to recommend reducing the height allowance in our area. I don't know how people feel about that.
Well, you have to have a reason for that, because as you point out, many of the buildings are over 30 feet. So why would you want to limit new buildings to be less than 30 feet?
Okay.
Well, I think Mary's point is valid, but I will answer the question. The new construction that's around us is taking advantage to the very inch. And so the new structures are bigger. Their mass overwhelms. I think a good example of that is as you come around the corner at Kansu, the little cottage called Kansu is dwarfed by the new building on Mariner Way. And that's happening York Street, Dover Street, those that are around me, and I'm sure the other side of our area, you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, definitely on York Street, that new building just overwhelms everything else on the street.
Well, the height is something that the HDC is sort of tasked to regulate, to keep buildings consistent within their neighborhoods. The zoning does say 30 feet, but it doesn't mean you're gonna get 30 feet. The HDC could limit you to lower than that if they chose to. But they usually don't. I mean, they have the ability quite often. I shouldn't put it that way. Quite often they actually do limit houses to less than 30 feet. So it's,
Their
and
consistency doesn't seem very consistent, though.
well, it's true because each little neighborhood is different than the next. The close to town, India Street, for instance, those buildings are probably over 30 feet high all along India Street. The outlying areas over where Lee is and down Pine Street and Silver, those areas, the kind of on the outskirts of town, they're mostly more modest scale buildings, and they should be less than 30 feet. And that's up to the HDC to control. So,
would you have any understanding of why that new house on York Street is so massive compared to the rest of the street?
Because the HDC allowed it.
They probably took advantage of every square foot they could. And I'm willing to bet that they're meeting or close to meeting the 50% rule. It's because if you look at the area on the strips by the boundary, because they're the longest lengths, their area, even only 5 to 10 feet wide, easily gets to half of the acreage.
So I want to remind everybody, we are not the HDC and we're not responsible for enforcing those regulations. We're not the planning board. We're not spot zoning. We are trying to develop guidelines for a large area with a variety of types in it. And, the problem with something like a blanket recommendation to change a zoning parameter for the entire area is that it doesn't fit the entire area. And the point of an area plan is not to pick out a property or two and say that one needs more limitations. That's the job of the planning board and the HDC, to look at each individual application. We need to stick to what's good for our area.
I only picked out that property because it's like it stands out. And so I'm not recommending that we make any suggestions about it, but I wanted to understand, why does this thing stick out like a sore thumb on this this street of very modest buildings?
Right. My point is, assuming that that's true, you can't use an area plan to address that.
Oh, I guess I understand that, definitely. Just, it's better to understand why is this happening? If there is a goal of consistency in neighborhoods, why is this happening?
Marianne, I think the building right next door, you're talking about the lower York Street, closer to, say, Union, down that area, or no, down by Orange Street.
Mickey, it's between
Orange and Pleasant.
Yes.
I'm guessing it's number 14.
Yes, and that's for the property where they cut down the tree. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So right next door to that property is another 2-story house of similar scale, which probably is actually a smaller scale, but they used that as kind of the model when they designed that house, the new one. So, it's not completely out of character with the neighborhood, but it's probably on the larger, if not the largest size for that area. But that was precedent they used.
Thank you. I'm going to skip over commercial and mixed use because we already talked about that, and go to the last thing, which is really a question. Because Holly, when she talked to us, said that we could get all the property records for our area if we are so inclined. I'm not sure that we want all this detail of information, but if it's desired by this committee, I guess we could see exactly how many are single family versus multifamily versus commercial use, if we wanted to put actual numbers to each of these categories. So I don't know how people feel about getting to that level of detail of the properties within our area.
I think it might be useful information, actually. To
I
see.
think it would be appropriate to have that information as an appendix to the plan
Yeah.
and to state that that information has been reviewed to help form the recommendations of the plan. You know, I've had a very hard time if people are just making recommendations and don't really have a good grasp of how those are going to affect the area.
Mary, when you say plan, are you talking about our local area plan or the master?
Yes, local area plan.
Okay, and the reason I ask is that I mulled it over as Mickey was talking, and I agree with him. It would be a good idea to include. And I add that it would be a good model for other area plans so that the master plan could then, local area by local area, uh, suggest the nature of the structures in that area. All residential, single family, residential, mixed, single and multiple family, predominantly commercial, which would not our area, but that would be downtown. And I think as an example, it would be a good idea.
In that case, Henry, are you probably the person to make that request, correct?
Either me or you.
I'm a nobody. They never even heard of me.
Oh, that's not true. Okay, I will try and get with Nathan.
Okay, thank you. That sort of exhausts the categories that I put land use into. I don't know if anybody has any comments other than these categories. Please say what you have to say.
I don't know if we have any agricultural use in our area. Any formal agricultural use. I don't think we do, but
Like people keeping chickens in their backyard?
Yeah, is Rayon's farm in our area? No, I don't think so.
Uh-uh.
Is what farm?
Ray Owens. No, he's outside our area.
I don't know the answer to that. Could you spell the name of that farm?
Owen is the name of the owner. I've forgotten what the name of the
Oh,
farm.
Owen. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's in our area.
He's
No,
well
he's
out of our
outside.
area.
It is?
He's out on off of Hawthorne Lane or Duke's Road, that area. So he's
Yeah,
well.
is that in our area?
No.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, it's in the town association area, but not in the town area plan area. But there used to be the flower farm on Candle House Lane, which is now land bank property.
Correct. That was a nursery before.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not in commercial use, but they're still growing
Mhm.
plants there. And I don't think they're growing plants for any other place. I think they stay there. There used to be somebody off New Lane who had chickens, but that was a long time ago.
I'm not sure what the use of the property opposite outdoor power equipment is. I think it's owned by NIR. There's a number of small cottages and some greenhouses in there.
Oh, yeah, they look sort of abandoned, those greenhouses.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the use is.
Okay. Are you saying I should look into that?
Well, it may be commercial use, it may be, you know, employee housing, and that's all they're really using it for. You know, there may be some agricultural use, I don't know.
Okay.
But it would be interesting if there is actually still some agricultural use within this area.
Okay, I'll investigate.
I go by there all the time. I suspect there's not very much happening there.
Any more discussion?
Marianne, I have your other handout. Do you want to go over that, the commercial properties?
Oh, okay, I guess, I don't have any comments on this, but if people have the time right now, you can just go down the list and see if
Okay,
if anything is missing. I've
Yeah.
added the ones that you gave me, Lee.
now, I've got that, and Mary, if you stop sharing the screen, I'll share mine.
Okay,
Thank
go
you.
So I
Mary, notice that it's got bubble bark and it's alphabetized by street name. It only has one or two more than the one Mary Longacre shared, but it's got my additions to it.
Okay. I put the inns and guest houses in a separate category so that they would be easy to see.
Right. Okay. I'm moving too fast for you to read. So this is not, these are commerce, but not inns and guest houses. And the asterisk represents my additions. And I think Mary got all of the inns and guest houses.
Marianne, what about your old office for Hill Construction? Is that an office or is it
I
a
put
residence?
that, I did put that in here. That's 4 South Mill Street,
Oh, there it is. Yep.
and it's still a commercial use. I was unsure whether I should include 27 Mill Street, which is Anderson Publishing, because it's not really a place where people come and go for commercial uses, but it is a business operating in part of that building. So I wasn't sure. I put it on the list thinking it may be.
It sounded good to me, Mary Ann.
Okay.
By the way, since these have appeared on the screen, they'll be attached to the minutes.
The businesses at the beginning of Fair Street, so not 13 and 29, but right at the corner, I think it's 2 and 4, maybe. John Lachtenfeld's studio and Jeannie, I've forgotten her last name, I think has a studio next to it.
Is that in our area? I thought we
I'm
were.
not sure. We have to look at the lines and see which side of the line they're on.
And the Van Etten gallery is closed. Yeah, she's no longer there.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'm just
think
wondering
there's
if that's,
someone else.
is that with it? I was avoiding downtown because I think of that as downtown, but maybe that's just my thinking and not where our line is drawn.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can pull up the map and take a look.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mary Longacre, I'm going to hit stop share and that will give it back to you.
All right, so no, so Fair Street, the beginning of Fair Street is in the commercial downtown area. It is not in our area. So
Oh.
those count.
Interesting.
Well, it makes sense. I mean, they're certainly connected to the Main Street shops.
Right. And there's a house on Fair Street, and I'll find the number, where a woman uses the name of the house, but I don't think her business is there. She makes backgammon sets. Because I bought one.
Oh,
So I'll find out. Share that.
okay. Yeah, thank you. And you can just send the change to Henry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Allison, what was the name?
I have to look it up. It was like 9 Fair Street or 3 Fair, is the name of the company. It's her mom's house on Fair Street. But I believe that, I don't know where the young woman runs her business. I don't know if she runs it out of her mom's house or she runs it in New York. But I can reach out to her because I bought a backgammon set from her.
There's an artist studio in Atlantic. We have that.
Atlantic. Oh, yeah, they put their paintings out on the street.
Oh,
Okay.
that's Paul Goldschneider.
Yes,
Oh,
I think we
okay.
have him listed.
Thank you.
$14 Atlantic.
Thank you.
Does anybody want me to put the map up as a visual aid, or
I don't think so now that
you needed
now
it?
that we know that those galleries are downtown.
Okay, the name of the company is 9 Fair Backgammon. But I will ask the woman if she's working out of Nantucket or New York.
Did you say backgammon like the game?
Yeah.
Okay.
And did you purchase it from her at on Fair Street, or did you get it
No,
on?
no, I got it online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Henry, I think that's it.
Okay.
Great job.
Yes,
And then can I assume that if it's a nonprofit like Mariah Mitchell or the Coffin School, that we're not counting those as commercial?
I would agree, yeah.
Mary,
we
I
have
used to teach land use planning, and there are 7 categories, major categories, and the one you're referring to is probably called institutional, as opposed to commercial.
So should I create another category?
No.
No, I think we got enough.
Okay.
I don't think that there's a great concern about the activities of the institutional property owners in the area.
How about the properties like the oldest house, not the oldest house, 1800 house, NHA properties, the old jail, in town? Are they categorized as something?
That's institutional.
Probably is, yes.
So maybe we should create another category.
Well, I think it's probably enough to recognize that. As I said, I don't think there's a great deal of interest in changing how those properties are managed.
But should we list them on the inventory? Just wondering.
I think we should call them out as sort of non-residential. I mean, they're not residences, so I think they need to be identified as something.
But I think it also helps, as I'm thinking about it, to have them in their own category, because we had some of them listed under open space too. And so if they have their own category, then it is not, we don't have that question about, well, should they be in open space, or should they be in commercial, or should they be in something? They should just have their own category.
Okay, besides Mariah Mitchell, the 1800 house, and the oldest house.
The mill, the jail,
Pardon?
the mill and the jail and the Coffin School.
Okay.
The carriage house, is that still an NHA on Gardner
Yeah,
Street?
Yeah, the Greater Light and the old
Yeah.
firehouse, old
Yeah.
fire hose cart house.
Right.
Is a tongue twister.
Mhm.
The Quaker Meeting House and the Fair Street Museum belong to the NHA. And then the churches, so St. Paul's, the Summer Street Church.
Okay, I guess I could make a list and we can decide if we're going to include it or not.
Yeah, the church on Orange Street is in our area, but the church on Center Street, yeah, that's in our area too.
not
So the
to,
only one not in our area is the Methodist Church.
And
Catholic.
Catholic Church.
St.
not,
Mary's.
not to forget the old Baptist church, which is now the Summer Street Ecumenical
Right.
Church.
I mentioned that.
Yeah, and the Catholic
Uh,
Church in town.
Christian Science, I don't know if they call it a church, but it's on Mattocket Road and it's in our area because our area goes out to Wynn Street.
Thank you.
And then I guess that we'd have to count the cemeteries as institutional use. So the Quaker Road Cemetery. The
Yeah, I remember
African
bringing
American-
that up myself at
Yeah.
a previous meeting, and Lee shut that down. No need.
I think
to-
that might have been in the open space category. So but if we put them in institutional, then again, they you know, they have a home.
I'm not sure I got them all. I was writing as people were talking. I've got Mariah Mitchell, the NHA properties, including the oldest house, the 1800 house, the mill and the jail, and the old fire hose house.
Greater Light.
That's the one. Thank you.
Where is the boundary down on Washington Street going into town or out of town? Is the Mariah Mitchell Aquarium in town?
That's not in our area. I'll
Okay.
go ahead and put the map up.
Okay.
Is that downtown or is that waterfront?
No,
'Cause
she's talking about out on Mattocket, right?
No, the aquarium is what we're talking about right
Oh.
now.
both sides of the street are out of our area. One is downtown and the other is waterfront. So Coffin Street marks, if you extend Coffin Street, you get to Commercial Street. But just south of there would be the Mariah Mitchell building that they intend to redevelop. And across the street from that is the aquarium, not ours.
But the Salmar Center.
Good idea.
Yep.
Wait a minute.
I'm
Yes,
not,
that's on,
the American Legion is not
Not
in,
us.
but what's the other one that's on near Cumberland Farms?
The Lightship Basket Museum?
No, the other.
no, I know what she means.
Men's Club.
Off Cherry Street or Bear
Yeah.
Street, there's a
Yeah.
little assembly room.
Oh, yeah.
You're talking about the KSC?
Yes, KFC.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Ray's Court is in our area. Can somebody help me out with that? I'm trying to orient myself. And-
It's listed on the map. It's in our area.
Yeah,
that's
Sylvia
no
Antiques
longer
has a
commercial.
shop on Ray's Court.
Yeah.
It's no longer there.
It's no longer open.
Correct.
Okay.
That was his father and his uncle, and they had some fabulous furniture back there. I couldn't afford it.
The Homestead, do we have that listed?
We should, as an institution.
What's his name? Hazel, I get the surname. He has an inn on Ray's Court.
Yeah, I was trying to find that one when I listed the inns, and I couldn't find any mention of it anywhere.
Okay, then forget about it.
Okay. It must be extremely small.
Lee, you were going through your list. Did you also have the Quaker Meeting House and the Fair Street Museum for the NHA
Yes.
property? Okay.
Yes.
I am going to have to excuse myself. I've got to run off to the HTC meeting. I got to drive there. So
And I have to leave shortly as well, so we're gonna lose a quorum when we do. Henry, what do you want to do about that?
Well, I'll say our next meeting is the 15th. Are you and Lee ready to present anything?
I'm not. And I won't be. I have an NPNEDC meeting the 18th. That's my focus.
Okay.
That's my arrival day. I may be able to log in because of the time difference. It'll be after supper.
right.
So I'm gonna leave that one open, but I just as soon not be up on the agenda.
Okay, Mickey, did you?
Just a quick note to Mary. I've sent you a couple of suggestions, and I'm waiting for you to say aye or nay to those suggestions. When we get that, I'll try and create a draft.
Okay, I haven't been able to get to those yet, Lee.
Okay.
Mickey, were you able to get with Reagan?
no, I guess we haven't yet. So I can try to reconnect with her and we can represent also.
Okay. Because that's coming up quick.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
If there's nothing else, how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved,
Hey.
Mary Ann.
Mary Ann, second.
Second.
Mickey, all in favor, aye.
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 Thank you, everyone, and we will see you on the 15th at 4 p.m.
Okay.
Thank you,
Bye.
Mary.
Thanks.